Um, okay, thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone. It is a great pleasure and honor to be able to share our work from Guatemala National Committee with all of you. And in order to start my presentation, I will introduce myself. My name, for those who don't know me, is Samuel Franco Arce, and I'm Guatemalan, and I'm the director of a cultural center rescue hub in Guatemala. I'm also, for the last 10 years, I have been the conveyor of Blue Shield Guatemala National Committee, and I say the conveyor because there is no particular board at this point, and so I cannot say I'm the chair, but although I'm kind of have been chairing the committee or the group for the last decade. So I will speak more about it in the next presentation. Also, I have been involved with ICOM since 2003 and through different international committees. But in the last 6 years, I have been with the ICOM DRMC now International Committee. Before it was a standing committee called DRTF, Disaster Relief Task Force. Now it's called Disaster Resilience Museums Committee. So I'm also a member of the board of UNESCO Memory of the World National Committee of Guatemala. And also I am a trainer for ICROM since 2008. I have been training about safeguarding audiovisual heritage or documentary heritage, because that's what we do at the hub and the cultural rescue in Guatemala. And also, I have been involved with the Prince Cloud Fund Cultural Emergency Response Program. Now we are kind of partners with this organization. And also, I belong to the UNESCO roster on emergencies in culture. So I will speak a little bit about the history of Blue Shield Guatemala. In order to start, I would like to locate you where Guatemala is in Central America. This is Mexico, South America. So we are in the strip of the Central American area. And so this is Guatemala. And we are based in a very vulnerable area of the world. Actually, as the United Nations University has mentioned, we are on the number 4 in the top 10 most vulnerable countries for natural disasters, because we are part of the Ring of Fire, which is the volcanic area around the planet. And most of earthquakes have happened in this part of the world, in Central America, Chile, Peru, and also in Southeast Asia. We just had 2 recent events, one in Haiti, in this part of the world, and a couple of days ago in Vanuatu, which is one of the, I think is the number 1 most vulnerable country according to this ranking of the United Nations University. Also, our geographical situation locates us among 3 tectonic plates. We are, Central America is between the Cocos Plate, the Caribbean Plate, and the North American Plate. So that is what it causes a lot of earthquakes and seismic movements every day. In Guatemala, the seismograph measures almost 200 quakes a day, small ones, of course, but we are very vulnerable because of this position among the tectonic plates. So this is just to give you an idea of the vulnerability, very high risk. The red zone, it's here in Guatemala, Central America. Costa Rica is also in the top 10. And of course, Chile, which is very well known by everybody that it is very vulnerable as well. So probably the most harmful earthquake in the last decade has been in Haiti in 2010, with a lot of, more than 2,100 casualties. Guatemala had in 1976, 23,000, and Peru 70,000 in 70. So those are just to give figures, just to give you an idea of the area. So Guatemala, it's very vulnerable to earthquakes. The last one was in 1976, where we had a lot of colonial heritage lost, which is, Guatemala has 2 major cultural heritage assets, which are archaeological heritage and also the colonial heritage. And this was very much affected by the earthquake, as it is located in the highlands, a very vulnerable area. And a lot of damage was done post-disaster also because of mishandling of the situation, after disaster. Also, we have 33 volcanoes, so we are very vulnerable to volcano eruptions. And also, we are in the path of hurricanes. So we are very vulnerable to tropical storms. Right now, we are going through Grace. Fred is also going on in the Pacific and the Atlantic. Grace tropical storm is hitting Mexico now, and we are experiencing rains today here in this area. So as a conveyor, my role has been from different scenarios, but basically from ICOM. I have been a member of the International Council of Museums since 2003, and through that platform, I have been able to convey the Blue Shield. That's where I heard about Blue Shield first, through ICOM, and through the different international committees. I'm a member of AVICOM, since our center handles the audiovisual heritage, and also a small ethnographic exhibit on intangible cultural heritage. That's why we are in the museums sector. And then also from the Disaster Resilience Museums Committee, I'm a member of the International Committee, so also conveying from that sector. And I have been also chair of ICOM Latin American and Caribbean Regional Alliance. So that has been also a platform to spread the Blue Shield news around the continent of Latin America. So another important partners and part of the history of Blue Shield Guatemala are ICROM, because being involved with audiovisual assets, I became member of ICROM and teacher of ICROM in the SOIMA courses, which are sound and image collections preservation. And through this program of ICROM, I met Aparna Tandon, who also is well known by all of us, being in charge of the First Aid to Cultural Heritage course. So to talk about the history of Blue Shield in Guatemala, I would say it started from the Minister of earlier works began at the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Mr. Carlos Hugo Avila was in the Humanitarian Office of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. And so they deal with refugees and disasters and so on. So that's where we first heard from Blue Shield in ICOM. Then being an ICOM Guatemala chair for 8 years, we organized a summit of Latin America where we invited Mr. Julian Anfruns, who was director of ICOM by then, and also a president of ICBS, or International Blue Shield Committee. And he came to Guatemala, to our museum and center, to give us a lecture about Blue Shield, and also involve officers from the Ministry of Culture of Guatemala. So signaling was being conducted at the same time by the Ministry of Education, of Culture, sorry, in archaeological sites, so, and cultural places. So basically this is the emblem, the sign, the marking that the Ministry of Culture did in these sites. This is the Presidential Palace, the National Palace of Culture in Guatemala City, and in archaeological sites, and in colonial sites, cities also. So these are different types of marking symbols that have been, you can find in Guatemala. So this means bien cultural protegido. It's a cultural heritage, a protected cultural heritage. So after the visit of Julian Anfrus, who promoted the installation of Blue Shield in National Committee in Guatemala, through ICOM Guatemala, we invited different sectors of social protection, different ministries, civil protection, sector, ministries from education, from culture, environment, foreign affairs, volunteers, and different actors or that could be interested in learning about the constitution of Blue Shield. We of course invited people from the 4 pillars, from ICOMOS, from IFLA, from ICA, and also from IFLA, ICOM, the 4 pillars. And after these meetings, we agreed that unanimously that Blue Shield was a must for Guatemala because of the vulnerability. So we continue trying to, we started to organize our committee, try to get a legal figure to start working, which was not so successful, because that's where we have had problems in constituting legally, because we wanted to include people from the government, people from the Ministry of Culture, people from illicit traffic department in the Ministry of Culture, Red Cross, and other from the National Library, from the National Archives. But according to our national legislation, some complications arise that would not allow government officers to be members of NGOs or other civil associations like Blue Shield. So that kind of stopped the procedures of becoming legally constituted. But however, we continue through ICOM and through personal resources and investment, since Blue Shield is an act of volunteers. You know, I enrolled as a volunteer in the little window that Blue Shield International had some time ago for individuals who wanted to become volunteers. And with the support of ICOM Guatemala and ICOMOS, you know, I decided, I was working with ICROM and decided to go to Rome to the 60th anniversary of the Hague Convention, and also the Blue Shield Assembly, General Assembly. I can see Peter, Carl, where I met Peter Stone, Carl, and other colleagues from Blue Shield. And later in 2015, being also appointed as DRMC in ICOM, and working with ICROM, with Aparna Tandon, I personally became interested as a conveyor of Blue Shield to enroll in the first aid to cultural heritage in times of crisis, the course called FAC, First Aid to Cultural Heritage in Times of Crisis, which was in the Netherlands. And it was a very, very enriching experience to work with the army, with the firemen, and other colleagues that were training us in these issues. I mean, with the experts of the world, which was a privilege. And then after the course of we also created some activities in Guatemala related to Blue Shield. We invited colleagues we showed the film Monuments Men as a forum to have discussion and to inspire colleagues in Guatemala. And also after the FAC course 2015, I was there when we were closing the course. There was this earthquake in Nepal. So I decided to go as a volunteer to Nepal and film, being a videographer. This won an award, this film, in the AVICOM, which is the Audiovisual ICOM International Committee, since the film was on Nepal earthquake and the impact of the earthquake on intangible cultural heritage. This was a very tempting and very attractive issue to cover, and we used this film, the Treasures of Nepal, as a tool as a case study when we teach on Blue Shield capacity building. So in 2016 in Milan, Italy, there was the ICOM meeting, and I became chair of ICOM LAC. I was elected with ICOM LAC. So that gave me another platform to strengthen networks and to work more regionally, to share the experience of Blue Shield Guatemala or with other Blue Shield committees in Latin America and the Caribbean. So also at the same time in Milano, we attended to Guatemalans. It was myself and Liwi Gracioso, who was the chair of ICOM Guatemala by then. We attended to the session of ICBS in Milan, Italy. Um, so after the first aid course by ICROM, we got a lot of support from the Prince Claus Fund, which was also involved with FAC course. So we got a small grant of about 10,000 euros, which was enough for us to start doing some capacity building training courses. Also with the help of UNESCO Guatemala, we created these 4 workshops in 4 regions of Guatemala, training 80 professionals of museums, archaeological sites, archives, libraries, and civil protection. We work with the army, with civil protection, to train them about about how to handle, cultural heritage using the FAC and ICROM's methodology. And this was, again, sponsored by the Prince Claus Fund, Culture and Development Fund. So we work in archaeological sites, in different museums in the city, archives, libraries, and we train 80 professionals. So later that year also, Blue Shield, we did a presentation of Blue Shield in a Central American Summit of Illicit Traffic organized by UNESCO, UNIDROIT, and Interpol. So it was interesting to share experiences with regional colleagues in the illicit traffic, from the illicit traffic point of view. Later in 2015, being member of DRMC and as an ICOM lecturer, we were invited to go to Japan since Japan was interested in creating their Blue Shield Japan. And so they wanted advice, they wanted to share experiences in other parts of the world. And also there was a presence of Netherlands, Andrea Kieskamp from Blue Shield Netherlands attended. And also we had a presentation from UNESCO Pacific, who was also trying to create a Blue Shield kind of network in Tonga, Vanuatu, and those islands. And so we were all sharing, experiences and how to create Blue Shield committees in our regions, and what had worked, what didn't work, and so on. So continuing with ICOM LAC and ICOM Blue Shield activities, we started working with our national committees of ICOM in Latin America and Central and the Caribbean. So we organized capacity building in El Salvador, in Costa Rica also, and we were giving certificates supported by ICOM, Blue Shield, UNESCO. UNESCO has been a very important partner in the region, in all this Blue Shield adventure, I should say. And also in Costa Rica, we did training through Red Cross, the firemen, using the ICROM methodology on first aid to cultural heritage. So in 2008, also we had Blue Shield and DRMC sessions with Cory Wegener, who was formerly Blue Shield US. And so at that time, we were talking about different the evolution of the committee, since it was called DRTF, and it was changing to DRMC, and also a new strategic plan, the changing from standing committees to international committees, and so on. So thanks to Cory from Smithsonian Cultural Rescue Initiative, and colleagues from Blue Shield Netherlands, Angela Delebeke, Andrea, and Gerrit de Bruin, we managed to get, and also UNESCO Netherlands actually, we managed to do some work in St. Martin after the Irma hurricanes, the hurricane. We trained at the National Archives in St. Martin. Then in 2018, in the Netherlands, there was a first aid course to leadership course, which is a next level or a follow-up to the first aid course. So I was privileged to be part of this group. Here we have Richard Curing, who was explaining about the saving cultural heritage in times of crisis in Haiti for the 2010. We all know they were there present for that earthquake. And also through ICOM, DRMC, we we organized a workshop in Tehran, in Iran, at the National Museum of Defense. And in St. Andrews University in Scotland, also working with EULAC museums and an ICOM project. We were invited to St. Andrews University and Isle of Skye to conduct some training and some sensibilization about Blue Shield. And also in part of the EULAC, European Union, Latin American, Caribbean Initiative, we did some workshops in Barbados. And this was the initial, the place where we started a very important, in Barbados actually, in this meeting, we started a very important relationship with the Caribbean, UNESCO, and SEDEMA, which is the civil protection network of the Caribbean. So again, through ICOM, trying to network, since ASPAC, I mean, Asian Pacific Regional Alliance is very much related to Central America. We were invited to go to Japan to the ICOM ASCAP meeting in order to exchange information about, their experience with tsunamis, with earthquakes, and the Japan experience on disasters, and also to continue the talks about organizing Blue Shield Japan, which unfortunately still hasn't happened due to a lot of national situation, procedures that they have to meet. But we were trying with Swai, the president of ICOM by then, to create more conscious about disasters, importance in cultural heritage. So from 2019 to 2021, after the leadership course in the Netherlands, we had a grant from the Prince Claus Fund, Culture and Development, in order to start a pilot project of a cultural rescue regional hub in Guatemala. So we use our museum, our center. This is our center, which is an exhibit, a museum of intangible cultural heritage on Mayan traditions. So we keep the objects, we keep the exhibits, but we added some risk component. I mean, like these models of volcano, the volcano eruption system, how vulnerable the cities are in Guatemala close to the volcanoes. So the exhibit is about risk, wisdom at risk is called. Wisdom because of intangible cultural heritage and at risk. So here we train in this cultural center due to this, thanks to this fund from the Prince Claus Fund, we managed to get some resources to train presentially, and online. So now we have to adapt to the hybrid life. So we have in the hub, we created some simulation structures, buildings. These are the typical buildings that are part of, that are in the area. These are the materials, I mean, the vernacular architecture. So this is the area where we do risk analysis and assessments, damage assessment, risk analysis basically for the people we train. So we can use we can look the adobe walls, the tiles, the materials that are all over the country. So we become familiar with this. So also as part of this cultural Regional Hub Rescue Center and the donation of the grant of Prince Claus Fund, we were able to respond to some emergencies at the National Archive, National Library of El Salvador. You see there's a Blue Shield emblem here in the National Library, who was flooded. So we had, with the help of their staff, of course, we conducted some response activities for a week. Since a lot of the, like 800 different volumes of books were, of documents were damaged. So then back to Japan, our aim in these 3 years through Blue Shield Guatemala, Blue Shield Japan, Blue Shield Netherlands, we were trying to get the ICOM General Conference in Kyoto 2019 to to try to get some position in the plenary session for disaster, for, I mean, cultural emergency response in times of crisis. And we finally made it. So, so as part of the pre-conference of Kyoto 2009 in ICOM, we did with Cory Wegener some one-day workshop. So we trained 45 people in that before the conference. And of course, during the conference, the General Assembly, when everybody was there, we managed to get 20 minutes at the plenary session. So Cory Wegener, Aparna Tandon gave the presentation. So we wanted to create more visibility about the importance of why it's important to create these networks like Blue Shield, especially since we have just had the Glasgow fire recently in the arts, School of Arts, and also the National Museum of Brazil. So it was a time to talk about disasters. And through ICOM Portugal, and Blue Shield in Portugal, we did some also after the conference, some kind of workshops at the National Archaeology Museum and National Ethnology Museum. So I would say important achievements in Central America. Just before the pandemic started, we managed with the World Bank, UNDSSR and GFDSSR, and there was a very important meeting called Understanding Risk Central America, where culture was included for the first time. So we gave a workshop to different officers there during this event, which attracted more than 600 people in Costa Rica. So also working with our partners in UNESCO Central America, they have an office in Guatemala and Costa Rica and also in the Caribbean. So we started working on documentary heritage safeguarding through the Memory of the World program. So recently we did some training in Panama with UNESCO at the National Archives of Panama to protect documents, where we had and also to try to recruit volunteers, which is a new adventure we are getting into to try to motivate volunteers. So we have continued online after the pandemic to have some webinars online. And also very important, just before the pandemic, we work also in the Caribbean, with the Caribbean. We coordinate with our neighbors there, with the CHEN, which is Cultural Heritage Emergency Network. And we organize with UNESCO also this important meeting, which was SEDEMA, which is the emergency agency in the Caribbean, and UNESCO cluster in Jamaica, in order to sign up an MOU in order to include culture in the civil protection legislation. So as a result of this, we also went back to San Martin to train more about, the National Archives, to do risk assessment, and to help them to create their plan for future hurricanes. More heritage, more online webinars. We are currently working at St. Vincent online, of course, after the Le Soufriere volcano eruption, trying to do rapid assessment, damage assessment for a PDNA, post-disaster needs assessment for UNESCO. Also with the US Army, the US Embassy, we contribute training soldiers that are deployed in Central America for giving them an introduction of cultural heritage. So we have exchanged, they donated us 7,000 masks, these chirurgical masks for COVID recently. And we are training, next week we are training a group of soldiers in Honduras. So back to Guatemala, we also work in the last year, ETA, IOTA, tropical storms, which damaged our UNESCO World Heritage Sites of Quiriguá, archaeological sites, which were flooded. Also some cracks on some archaeological sites. So we conducted some damage assessment activities. Also in rock art, in caves, we have conducted damage assessment, risk analysis, mapping and so on. And finally, this is our team now, back in, in present times in 2021, we are working with a memory of the world from the library, from ICA sector. Lisbeth Barrientos is one of our colleagues. Rosa Maria Chan is from ICOMOS and the archaeology point of view. These are volunteers and people that help at the center. And we're trying to have, to do the next step. So these are, to conclude, our future challenges. As you have noticed, a lot of work has been done individually, I would say, personally, as a volunteer, using all the resources I could get. I mean, not only in terms of material, but also the network, which has been advocacy and so on. But we have to get more organized, more constituted, in order to keep this going for years, because you know, we all know that one person or two person cannot do much, and if an accident happens, then everything finishes. So we will continue working on our constitution, the legal constitution of our national committee, in order to have a board, not just working as individuals. We have to develop a strategic plan. We have to recruit volunteers. We like to coordinate regional posts in the areas, in Guatemala at least, since we have archaeological areas, colonial heritage areas, and so on. We will continue with advocacy, continue with capacity building, and a national sensibilization campaign. And of course, keep on working on funding proposals and try to find more new stakeholders, and strengthening regional networks. So these are the associations related to the Cultural Hub, and also through Blue Shield Guatemala, which is mainly our funder, the Prince Claude Fund, ICROM, Smithsonian Institution, UNESCO, ICOM, and these have been donors in the last year. The Prince Claude Fund continues helping us, and also ALIF, we got from ALIF post-COVID relief fund through the SER program of Prince Claude Fund, in order to support us to continue our work in these times of the pandemic. So with this, I conclude. Thank you very much. I appreciate your kind attention.